Why has Dave Allen chosen to fight Russian monster Arslanbek Makhmudov? It's a question that I would not blame you for asking. Makhmudov is absolutely enormous, looks super powerful, and honestly, he looks like the kind of guy you just don't want to bump into in a dark alleyway. And with Dave Allen having come off a career best win against Johnny Fisher in their rematch, and being as popular as he is, he really had the pick of the bunch. So why Makhmudov? What is going on here? In this video, I'm going to be tactically breaking down this fight for you. We're going to be looking at what it is that makes Makhmudov so dangerous and why Dave Allen has a very, very real chance of knocking out the Russian. Why did Dave Allen choose this guy? We get into all in this video. Hello everyone and welcome back to A Guy Called Henry. I hope you're all having, as ever, a fantastic week. I've been looking forward to this fight for a while. To be honest, I've been looking forward to any fight ever since we had the Crawford-Canelo card. It feels like the schedule's been a little bit quiet, and honestly, with some of the things I've been talking about recently on the channel, I'm just happy to get back to actually talking about a legitimate fight. You know, these tactical breakdowns are kind of my signature. They're kind of the thing I enjoy doing the most, so I hope you all really enjoy this video. Just before I jump in, guys, don't forget to bang a like on this video if you do indeed like it. It helps to push the video out there. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new. Get your comments in the comments section below. Who do you think wins this fight? What have you seen tactically that maybe I've missed? And finally, I haven't pushed it for a while, but if you would like to become a member of the channel, it's only a couple of quid a month. It really helps to support what I'm doing, and you get a few little extra perks as well. But without further ado, let's jump into this one. Now, for me, whenever we look at the tactical matchup of a fight, there's always something that underpins it. There's always a main central theme that sort of defines how tactics will play out and all how the details mix and merge together. And for me, the story of these tactics between these two men is what the bloody hell happens when you put two guys in the ring together where neither of them really like to take a step backwards. Neither of them are really outside boxers. Both of them like to be in your face, moving forward, throwing big shots. Well, that's exactly what we've got here in the Makhmudov versus Dave Allen fight. And look, I'm going to say it right away. Standing toe-to-toe with Makhmudov seems absolutely bloody mental. It seems like the last thing you should do because this guy is a big puncher and he's very, very strong. This seems like a crazy thing to suggest, but to be honest with you, that is exactly how you beat this guy. And that sounds absolutely crazy to say because Makhmudov's got insane one-punch power. He's very, very physically strong man, and he looks to take you out at every opportunity. He has some great highlight reel knockouts, and you can understand why the conventional wisdom would be, you know, you need to box this guy on the outside. You need to move around the ring and just outpoint him and don't really get involved in the mix with him. But the truth is, actually, it's when you get to this guy that he starts to fall apart and he starts to crumble. Now, as I mentioned in my intro there, to my mind, Makhmudov has absolutely no back foot game. He seems as though to me that when he moves on the outside, he just goes backwards in straight lines with his gloves up. He just gets far back as he can, gets out of range, and tries to come forwards again. I've never really seen him fiddling his way around the ring, using the jab, and moving well. And that's kind of the thing about Makhmudov. He's got very ploddy, very slow feet. He almost looks like he's kind of stuck in the mud. His balance is fairly poor, and he honestly overthrows his punches quite regularly. You know, you'll see him throw a shot, he'll miss wildly. He's pretty slow to return his guard back to his chin. So yes, while this guy is a big, scary, powerful puncher, he's actually also quite vulnerable. Physically tough, physically strong. Don't get me wrong, he can definitely take a shot. But to me, he is one of the more hittable top heavyweights that I've seen. I mean, I don't know, it depends how you define a top heavyweight, but this guy has been in and around the sort of top 15 in recent times. And he's definitely quite a hittable guy. And look, recently he's lost to Kabayel and Vianello. These are two guys who are not Dave Allen. They're quite different from Dave Allen, in fact. The crux of their performances was they were able to stay safe, stay on the outside, move around. They had very, very good legs. They had long arms, good jabs. They're boxers who are used to being more technical, more fleet-footed, I suppose you could say, fiddle their way through the fight a bit more. And when I say technical here, I don't mean that Dave Allen doesn't do things that are technical. He absolutely does, but they are in a different zone of the ring. These guys operate from the outside primarily before entering the pocket, whereas Dave Allen always wants to be in the pocket where possible. And for me, this is where Dave Allen actually has a massive advantage over Makhmudov, in my opinion, in my very humble opinion. I think Dave Allen is a lot better fighter than Makhmudov is on the inside. I think that Makhmudov is much more powerful than Dave Allen, potentially. I think he's probably a bigger single puncher. He may physically be stronger than Dave Allen. But where I think Dave Allen is a lot better than Makhmudov is his guard. I think Dave Allen's got a very, very underrated guard. To go back to the Johnny Fisher fights we've just seen recently, Johnny Fisher, to be fair to the guy, he's actually a very big puncher, especially if you just stand there right in front of him. And he absolutely peppered Dave Allen with combinations, and they were reasonably fast as well. I would say that Johnny Fisher probably has faster hands than Makhmudov. He's not a fast puncher, Makhmudov, by any stretch of the imagination. Powerful, yes, but not quick. You can definitely see his work coming. And Dave was able to see pretty much everything that Fischer threw at him. Watch it. He'd look at him through his high guard. He'd cover up when he needed to. He's very good, Dave, at just taking little half steps back, riding out the bigger shots. And I say that Dave doesn't move laterally brilliantly like Kabayel does. He's actually underrated at moving laterally, in my opinion. He can move around his man. He can take the half step back. I just mean that he's not going to outbox you and box you on the back foot, but he is good at making himself safe and continuing to apply front foot pressure. And that is what he did in Fischer 1 and certainly in Fischer 2 when Johnny Fischer was on the back foot even more than he had been in that first fight. And Dave was over the rounds, able to wear him down, slowly apply the pressure. Eventually, he turned the screw, he forced the mistakes, and he took him out. And look, there was a lot of technical detail to this. When I said before, Dave's not the most technical boxer, that's actually a really incorrect thing to say. He's actually very technical. It's just he's technical in what he does. And people often don't think that come forward boxing in the pocket is technical. We think of the fiddly outside boxing as being technical, but yeah, it's very technical what Dave does, so I correct what I said there. The big difference in this one is that Makhmudov isn't going to be on the back foot the way that Fischer was. He might take a few steps back here and there to get out of range, to absorb shots, things like that, but at the end of the day, he will always look to get on the front foot again, and that is where this one will be a bit different. Jamie Moore said to Dave in the Fischer fight that his guard would have to be bulletproof. He's going to have it so tight so he could walk in and absorb the shots and apply that pressure, and exactly the same thing will apply here, if not even more so. But what is it that gives me the confidence? On a tactical level, Dave Allen will be able to oust Makhmudov in this fight and will be able to not take any massive shots, will be able to survive the danger and then be able to land his own work. Well, I've watched Makhmudov in his last few fights. I've looked at the patterns of what worked for other fighters, and I believe these are things that Dave Allen can implement. So I'm just going to show you a few things, a few combinations that if I was Dave Allen, I will be looking to throw and add to my arsenal going into this fight. So we're going to take a look first at the Kabayel fight. And the first thing to say here is that just as a general comment about Makhmudov's guard, it's just very, very open and loose. He's someone, he just doesn't have the tightest defense. He's very, very hittable once you actually get into the pocket. The risk that you take is that he's also going to try and punch you. But there are certain patterns that you can put him into with certain combinations. There's a consistent way that he likes to counter certain punches. And they are things I'm going to show you now that I think if Dave Allen wants to go in there and try these things, I think they would be successful unless Makhmudov has been able to adapt and evolve. So the one that I really noticed with Kabayel was the right uppercut followed by the left hook to the body. And I'm going to show you here what happens when Kabayel throws this combination. Now, I must apologize for the footage here because it's a little washed out. I don't know what's wrong with this full fight, but it's just how it is for some reason. Anyhow, what we've got here is Makhmudov is moving backwards here, and this is a point in the fight where he's absorbed a fair amount of punishment, so he's having to go backwards to get away from Kabayel's work. And when you do start getting him moving backwards, which is what Dave will hope to do, this is a combination that worked really well for Kabayel. So watch here. Kabayel steps in, and he always would do this. He would touch with the jab there just to occupy the guard a little bit, and then instantly you can see he's readying the uppercut. So he fires that up. Now, this is the important part. Watch what Makhmudov does. The second that uppercut lands, you see his left hand, it starts going. And look, Kabayel instantly lands this shot to the body here, but Makhmudov has already started throwing that left hook, and it comes in, and it just catches Kabayel on the side of the head there. Now, Kabayel, because he's moved his body off like this, the hook doesn't really have a massive effect on him, but this was something that happened over and over again. He'd always react the same way. He'd try and counter with a left hook, occasionally a right hook, whenever the right uppercut was thrown in the pocket like that. I'm going to show you more examples of it to make my point. Here we go again. Kabayel is closing in on Makhmudov as he is moving backwards to the ropes here. Baits the jab again to bring the guard up. Little jab, and he also brings his foot in at the same time. Brings the uppercut up, and look, you see here, the point of this uppercut isn't actually to land, it's to occupy, and it's to tempt the counter. Now watch what Makhmudov does. Instantly, look, he's opening up and throwing it. But look at the position of Kabayel's hand here. It's in a good defensive position, to be fair. It could be a little tighter, but he's also instantly throwing that left uppercut to the body. So watch, left hook to the body, I should say. So watch. That left hook actually does land there from Makhmudov, but Kabayel's has got so much more force on it, and he lands clean to the body. And my point here is that actually, if we just take it back, I think if he just kept his glove a little bit tighter, he makes it even more secure. And I like Dave's guard, so I think it's possible for Dave to be able to do that. But because, as I say, he takes his head away at the same time, it's not so impactful. That time, not ideal. But when he's on the back foot, Makhmudov, the power seems to go as well, to be fair. Here's another one straight after. He's got that arm out, throws the uppercut. Instantly, the left hook comes out. Again, lands to the body. Again, Kabayel, he's got his chin tucked in, so he's okay. That left hook's more of an arm shot, so he's okay. But he could do better with that if he got his hand up again. Again here, he's going to touch here to move in. Touch, uppercut. That one gets through the guard. It's a lovely clean punch. Again, Makhmudov fires the left hook. You can see it going there. Again, the body shot is on. Boom. Again, Kabayel just needs to get that hand up, but You can see what I'm saying. And just to emphasize the importance of this, this is the one that actually drops Makhmudov for the first time. So again, you're going to see him touch his gloves, touch, steps in with the uppercut. And the thing about Makhmudov as well is often his defensive movement is to dip down, whether that's from a right hand, a jab, a hook. So the uppercut is a good punch. Again, look, dips down, uppercut comes in, he catches him on the chin. That one's a clean uppercut in the first phase. This is the second phase, touches him again to the guard, uppercut through the guard again. This time Makhmudov tries to bring that left hook like he has been doing every time. You can see that coming round. Kabayel goes to the body again, lovely clean body shot. Takes a little cuffing shot to the head for his troubles, but it's not a hurtful punch again. And Makhmudov has to take a knee there. And I'm just going to show you the finishing combination here. This is actually the second knockdown just before he gets finally stopped with a flurry. But again, it's the same thing. You know, you see he tries to counter that right uppercut. He actually gets some additional combination in this time, and he takes him down with those body shots again. And it all comes off, in my opinion, it all comes off that sort of that light jab to get himself into range to occupy the guard, the right uppercut, and then how Makhmudov every single time tries to counter off that right uppercut unsuccessfully and just opens up his body, exposes it every single time. And I do actually believe that Dave is a much more powerful body puncher than Kabayel is. I think Dave is a phenomenal body puncher, actually, and I think he has bigger single shot power than these other guys that he's fought because he's just a thicker, bigger guy, you know? I'm not saying he's better than Kabayel, but I think that is something he does better than Kabayel, in my opinion. So because Makhmudov does overthrow, there's lots of things that will work on the inside. You know, I think the main note is to draw counters from feint, draw counter from Makhmudov, then throw yours. Because he overthrows so often. You see it time and time again in his fights, him getting countered, him being second best when they do throw on the inside in exchange because he is just so open, he is so slow. But there's two more things I would really want to show that I think are particular patterns that you can pick up and really go for. I mean, look, there's a variety of shots that will work as singles. There's a variety of openings that will be there, but I'm just talking about patterns I've actually spotted with him. The other thing that I really spotted in this one, when they're in the open ring, not up close, but just how Makhmudov would like to attack, was how easily his left hook got countered. I'm going to show you some examples of it here. And it's important to point out here why he was trying to throw the left hook so much in the first place. I definitely think this is a note that Dave can take when, you know, there are moments he has to be on the back foot. And that is that Kabayel would generally circle in a counterclockwise direction. That was the way he was continuously looking to move during this fight. Now, what that meant was that Makhmudov's corner said to him, you need to cut off that exit, start throwing left hooks. But the issue with that is you can then predict that he's going to throw left hooks. It was actually a similar dynamic in the Canelo-Crawford fight because Crawford was boxing in the southpaw stance. He was always looking to exit out this way, something I pointed out in my pre-fight analysis. Canelo was trying to throw hooks to the body, and yes, it worked occasionally, but after a while, Crawford started to get used to this and was able to catch those shots and counter them because it was so predictable. It's such a predictable move from Canelo. And similarly to it being a predictable move there, it's a predictable move here. So for me, Dave Allen, he can copy this for sure. Now watch. As he throws the hook here, Kabayel is gloved up and he takes it on the glove and it goes over the top. But like I said, because Makhmudov, his guard is so low, there's always counters on when he throws something. So watch, boom. He throws his own counter left hook there. Again, here it's the same situation, a slightly different counter. So again, Kabayel's been moving this way. He's going to look to step around and cut him off with a left hook. So watch. They're in their stance. He steps in with that left hook and hits the... Well, actually, it skims over the top this time because Kabayel keeps his head low. But again, look where his hands end up. Because he overthrows, because his feet are in a bad position, you can see his weight shifting over this way. Kabayel comes back with that right hand over the top. Boom! Catches him right on the chin with the counter right hand. And watch again here. You see the intention from Makhmudov. He steps out this way to, again, block off this exit that he's continually using Kabayel. He steps across. He throws that left hook. Hits the gloves. And Kabayel just turns that right hand over the top straight away. You see that, the way it's hard to see at this angle that they've shown us here, but you see the way the glove hits him there. And again, because look where his hands are, man. Like, they're just so low. His chin is sticking right out. He whips that right hand in straight away and he catches him clean on the chin again. It's not a hugely powerful shot, but it's a good counterpunch. The only other thing I'd really mention from this particular matchup were the constant stabs to the body that Kabayel did, the straights just fired to the body just to prevent Makhmudov from just being able to walk him down at will. And that jab to the body is something that Dave can definitely use to his advantage. It's an effective strategy against Makhmudov because, I mean, if you just look at this screen of him here, there's just so much real estate with his body. There's so much space to go to. And his hands are always such an open position. He's definitely a target there to be hit. There's no question about it. Now, to jump over to the Vianello fight here, there was a couple of similarities from that Ajit-Kabayel fight, but there was a couple of things that I think he sort of added into the mix that you could see work really well as well, that, again, I think Dave could take some notes from. Rather than going over old ground from that one, I'm just going to show you a couple of new things. Now, the biggest thing for me that Vianello added to the mix here is the 1-2. And I know that sounds like such a simple thing to say, but it's something that, in my opinion, Dave hasn't used enough in his career. And actually, I'm going to tell you a little story here. It's something I talked about in a recent video. It was an adjustment that Jamie Moore added into his game plan in the second Fischer fight. It was something that he really wanted him to do, that he got him training in the camp. And it's something I think it'll work really well against Makhmudov. I think this can be a key component. So if we look here at Vianello, there's a good gap between them. And, you need ways to enter the pocket. Dave, yes, he will walk forward. He will look to pressure Makhmudov with front foot pressure. But if you could punch your way into the space, that's always going to be a better way of doing it, especially when you're in there with someone like Makhmudov, who is going to miss when he's trying to counter quite regularly. Is ploddy, does overthrow, like I said. But watch here. Vianello takes a step in. And it's, there's plenty of time for Makhmudov to read it. And look, it's not bad. He does get slightly caught with the jab, but he gets his head off to the side, right? Now, what you'll see about Makhmudov here is he nearly always goes that way off the jab. And the other thing to say about Makhmudov here, this is a point I want to make, is that he does not really move his feet when he slips. So first phase head movement, he's not bad, but second and third phase, he's generally there to be hit by combinations. So watch, Vianello throws the 1, his head's there, and he fires the 2 in, boom, and he hits him clean on the chin. He does take an uppercut back, but there's not an awful lot on it. Show you once again here, similar gap apart. And I think that Dave probably will want to go from a little closer than what Vianello is, just purely because Vianello's got longer, lighter, more athletic legs. It's easier for him to spring in. But regardless, the point remains. Fires in the jab, takes that step in, fires the jab. Again, Makhmudov gets a little caught, but it gets his head off to the side. So you know where his head is going to be. You need to fire slightly across, almost as if you're hitting pads. He fires down, and he catches him on the chin again. Once again, good gap. Vianello steps in, throws the jab. Again, same position with the head. Fires the 2 in. He hits him a little bit on the neck there, but again, it's a good 1-2. And there's a bit of variation here this time from Vianello. Oh, as he approaches, this time rather than firing a jab to make the head move to the side because the guard is up, he actually grabs the guard, pulls it down, then fires the right hand through the middle and hits him on the chin again. So as you can see, that 1-2 was working for Vianello all night. It was a nice, effective way for him to enter the pocket and land a really effective scoring combination onto Makhmudov. So just to complete the story of the 1-2 in this fight, I'm just going to show you how it was a real game changer in the Fischer fight. They'd gone through 4 rounds here. This was the final third of round 5. And Jamie had said to Dave in the corner, I want you to use that 1-2 at least once we practice it all of camp. So let's look at the dynamics of it here and we can sort of compare it to the way that Vianello used it. So similar gap apart, maybe a little closer. Dave steps forward here. And you see the thing with Dave is that he likes to do a little, it's like a slow pendulum step basically, where he brings this foot forward to bring this foot forward. And one thing I am concerned about with Dave is that it is not a foot fault unless you make it one. But if Makhmudov has the intelligence to time his attacks, he may be able to time Dave when he, moves forward like that. But to be honest with you, Makhmudov's own feet are fairly poor. I don't think he's got the boxing IQ for that, so I'm not too worried about it, but it is something to be aware of. Anyway, Dave gets that first little step in there. He steps his foot in again. And he goes forward, and you see he fires the 1 in. But look, again, it's to occupy, it's to distract. So it's a little different from the way the Vianello one worked. But if you look here, Johnny Fischer, he's frozen by that. It does isolate him. He touches it there. Fischer's lead hand is out. Dave's got his head off to the side, as you can see there. And then he fires in the 2, and he hits him clean on the chin. I really think that's straighter. It's still not a straight 1-2, but that's straight 1-2 from Dave Allen, where typically he's throwing in those sort of wider shots, is really, really important because I think the thing for me is Dave has historically been someone who throws that right hand quite looping and quite wide, and that's fine. He will get opportunities to land that against Makhmudov, but I think the way that you make sure that you're the winner in those inside exchanges is by keeping things shorter, straighter, tighter. For me, that is the mantra for Dave in this fight. Keep your hands up. Be very effective, very efficient. He doesn't need to throw those big winging punches because Makhmudov's so open anyway. If anything, you want to shorten up the delivery mechanism distance. And I think that straight 1-2 will really help him with that. So look, I think the big thing here is that I actually think if we look at Dave Fischer 1 and Dave and Fischer 2, Fischer 1, he wasn't really fit. Fischer 2, he was fitter. And in this fight, he looks like he's in career best shape. So I do believe he'll be able to go in there and implement tactics. But there's a couple of things about Dave that I think do still worry me about this matchup. Like I said, the fact that, yeah, he is actually decent at moving laterally. He is pretty good at taking a half step back, riding out a shot, making sure he takes the sting off it. He's pretty smart defensively, and his movement's not bad. He isn't going to win the fight, though, from the outside. It's all a means to get himself safely to the inside. And like I say, with Makhmudov, that's always going to give him a chance of winning, where the likes of Vianello and Ajit Kabayel, they just took away that component from his game. They made it so that they weren't really getting hit. They tired him out. They, moved him around the ring. They tied him up in knots. He wasn't able to do a lot with them. There will be way more opportunities with Dave Allen. And that is the one thing that does really concern me about this fight. So Dave is going to be in the pocket for a lot longer. He is going to want to come forward. He needs to be in the firing line. He needs to be in danger. But like I said before, that is how you beat this guy, Makhmudov, in an effective and dangerous way. It's how Dave Allen might actually knock him out faster than other people have done, because he's going to be in the firing line. He's going to be there planting his feet more, throwing heavier shots to the body. It's riskier, but it could end faster, is basically my point. I guess overall, I really view this as a harder version of the Johnny Fisher fight. But Makhmudov isn't going to move backwards the way that Fisher does. But to be fair to Johnny Fisher, Makhmudov might actually be slower than him, but I also think he's tougher. I think he's more experienced, but also he's 36, and his best win actually is over Carlos Takam, and that was a few years back now, so arguably his feet have got even slower since then. In conclusion, I do think that Dave's got everything he needs to beat Makhmudov, whilst it is risky, but I'm not making my prediction yet, because the big thing for me with Dave is, what does he look like in fight week? How is he mentally? Because as I've always said about Dave, he's his own worst enemy at times. And the reason I've always supported this guy, as I said in a video the other day, is because I always saw how much talent he had. I always saw the potential he had, but he was just never able to show it. And I'm pretty confident that he's all past all of that now, that he's in a great place where he's way more consistent, but you can never be too sure. So I want to see him in fight week. I want to see what he looks like physically on the scales and whatnot. We're definitely going to do a video about his camp, about the shape that he looks in before the fight, before I make my final prediction. I hope there's a face-off. I hope there's some kind of content that we can get into for the mental side of things as well. But that is how I see the fight tactically and technically. If Dave can be defensively safe, if he can throw with a bit more volume than he did in the Fisher fight from the word go, if he uses the right setups, the right combinations, I think that Makhmudov is his. He's there for the taking. But equally, Makhmudov will definitely be able to hurt Dave, and I think he will have some decent success in this fight. Dave is going to have to show all his toughness, all his years of experience to ride out some of those big punches. One thing I will say is, when you look at the bookies' odds for this one, they have Makhmudov as the favorite, and honestly, that does surprise me a little. Not that I'm encouraging anyone to gamble, but just when I look at this fight, I break it down from a tactical standpoint, technical standpoint, I do think that Dave's got the edge for me. But I'm talking hypothetically, and because Dave hasn't consistently delivered, I guess that's the reason why it is the way it is. But anyway, guys, let me know what you think in the comments section below. Don't forget to bang a like on the video if you've liked it. I'd love it if you would consider becoming a member. As I say, a couple quid a month, you get perks, and it really helps to drive and support the channel, especially if you've been enjoying the content recently. All I want to be able to do is do this more, so it really helps with that. But I hope you've enjoyed this one, and as I always say, guys, on to the next one.